Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you a new distributed data storage technology that will revolutionize and liberate a world as we know it. A system designed to make content moderation and censorship obsolete. A system where copyright infringement is impossible to track and prove. Imagine a distributed data storage that is not just decentralized, but also inherently resistant to control by governments and law enforcement. The content in this data storage is not static nor dynamic, it is something in between. It is evolving content that allows users to share ideas, photos, videos, and other files of any kind with the broad public while preserving the anonymity of the author. Unlike other technologies, the data cannot be controlled or suppressed by governments. This is all possible because of new crypto stuff you have never heard of, but I'm about to explain it in a few moments in a greater detail. But first we need to talk about the historical approach and a few historical applications. Those are all these bad goodies. These technologies were created long ago in the 90s and early 2000s when hardware and software was not as advanced as it is today. They may seem like dinosaurs compared to what we are about to create. For example, RapidShare. Once popular in the early days of the internet, had several significant disadvantages. For example, limited accessibility was a major issue. If you remember, only paying users enjoyed the full-speed downloads, while others faced restrictions like slow speeds or mandatory waiting periods. Additionally, it was a centralized client-server architecture, in the end easily taken down by law enforcement. Napster, on the other hand, used a peer-to-peer file sharing, but its centralized database remained susceptible to the same issues as RapidShare. GNU-Tela, Torrent, and IPFS partially solved the problem because the technologies are truly decentralized, including their main registries. But the major problem was not tackled at all. They are struggling with copyright infringement issues, and there is no protection against infiltration attack, which is a method widely used by law enforcement and copyright holders/protectors, where those so-called legal agents join the network and pose as regular users. They then monitor the activity in the network and gather evidence of illegal file sharing. In the end, they will attack the network by issuing fines and eventually putting suspects into custody. At this moment you would think, well, paid VPN is going to save me, but please do not let me start with this topic. It is not a big secret that the most VPN providers cooperate with governments and secret agencies, and when using their services, you can be sure that every step you make is closely monitored. Well, there is an easy test which you can perform if you are not afraid. Just try to upload one or two, let's call them explicit movies featuring underage boys and girls, and then you can be sure that police will knock on your doors before midnight. There is simply just so much that the VPN providers will tolerate, so please rather do not use paid VPN at all. Finally, there is a mighty Tor. To be honest, I like Tor. Even if it is well known that over 60% of nodes in the Tor network are operated by NSA, FBI, Russians, and Chinese, I still like Tor. I have run the exit node a few years ago for almost a month and nothing special happened to me. Well, my public IP address was blacklisted and I could not reach many standard websites afterwards, but other than that, nothing special happened, except of course my 50 terabyte data package which I was supposed to use during the entire year was depleted in under 1 month. That shocked me at the time, and it is a big problem of Tor. Not only state secret agencies operate 2 of 3 nodes in the network, but Tor is painfully inefficient and slow. It relies mostly on altruists willing to sacrifice their network bandwidth and the reputation of their public IP addresses. If you look at this chart downloaded directly from Tor web pages and you zoom in on the advertised, not consumed but advertised bandwidth, you realize this thing is kind of a joke. Tor was not designed to handle zettabytes of data transfers. Frankly speaking, technologies using onion or garlic routing will never be good for content sharing applications. Which leaves us with a question. Isn't there something better? Some technology which works like a torrent for big files and as a social network for small comments and group chats, but at the same time it preserves privacy and protects users against corrupt governments. So, is there a platform which allows users to speak freely, anonymously, and to share whatever they wish, no matter if it is copyright protected? And when speaking about users, I don't mean just you and me, but I'm talking about all privacy-concerned users. Well, so isn't there something better? And the answer is yes, there is. There is a new technology which I have specially crafted for this purpose. It relies on something I call restricted multidimensional bit chains. So let me be your guide and we will rediscover this invention together. I will try to explain it step by step in a simple way so everybody will understand. First, let's define a copyrighted content. Copyrighted content can be anything: movie, music, some application, for example video games, etc. From now on, we will depict copyrighted content as this picture, or this one. On the other hand, we will use a picture of Lena as our representation of innocence, which is kind of ironic if you consider the origin of this photo. Nevertheless, Lena will represent an innocent, free, redistributable content, for example, a Linux distribution, or one of Shakespeare's poems, which can be shared and copied without a need to pay royalties. Or perhaps the best way how to define the innocence is by using our own content. This one is perfect. The Declaration of the Freedom of Speech and Freedom of File Sharing. And we can create a file of any size filled with it, 1 megabyte or 1 gigabyte or 10 gigabytes, who knows, simply by repeating this paragraph again and again. So this is what we will call an innocent document. Now imagine the following setup. We have an original copyrighted content and we will create a random binary noise of the same size as the original file. Then we will apply an exclusive OR operation between the original file and the noise one. Just a quick reminder, what is an exclusive OR operation? It is a binary operation which is extremely quick and simple. The definition is as follows. 1 XOR 1 is 0, 1 XOR 0 is 1, 0 XOR 1 is 1, 0 XOR 0 is 0. And we are going to apply the exclusive OR operation bit by bit between the original file and the noise 1, resulting in a noise 2. If you think about it, we can later use the exclusive OR operation between noise 1 and noise 2 to retrieve the original copyrighted content. But that is not our intention at the moment because there needs to be one more step to make it legal. Now imagine that we will take noise 1 and noise 2 and XOR both of them with the innocent file, resulting in the creation of noise 3 and noise 4. Now let's save and publish such files from at least 2 computers in different countries, and they will be shared by different people which have nothing in common. They do not know each other. One is in Australia and the other one in Denmark. If we use this approach, it will be very hard, almost impossible, to convict Billy from Australia that he is doing anything wrong, and the same applies to Carl in Denmark. Such a scenario is good, but there are 2 major problems. There is a small big problem with the size of the file. Let's assume that in our example the original copyrighted content is a movie with a size around 1 gigabyte. That means that we would need to create and share 4 gigabytes of noisy data. If that was the only price to pay, so be it. The internet connection improved significantly during last decade, but it is definitely not nice, we can agree on that. Unfortunately, there is another big problem. How on earth are we going to distinguish a noisy file from a copyrighted content? Imagine that somebody asks you to openly share a file and they claim the file is just a noise which is free and redistributable. How on earth are you going to verify that statement? The file, which looks like a random ones and zeros, could very much be a list of sensitive data in unknown format, or copyrighted movie compressed using a new codec, which you are not aware of. Sharing such a file can cause you some serious troubles, if even there was an algorithm which can solve both issues at once. the file size problem, and the identity problem. Such algorithm would allow us to create distributed data storage where anybody will be able to share anything and say anything with no legal consequences. Of course, there is no such algorithm. At least I thought so, until I've discovered it. So stick with me, guys, because this is gonna be a ride.